Peace, y'all. We made it. When was it that you realized that what you're not changing about your life, you're actually choosing? It's quite liberating. Just thinking about it, right? You know, it could be with your finances, your daily routines, your relationship, your or just your personal growth. Your quality of thinking, your behaviors. When dealing with any kind of situation. It could just be with the stranger at the down at the store. It could be with dealing with old acquaintances, dealing with your family, dealing with your children. Okay, the things that we know, it's like the thing that's in the back of your mind that I should be doing this better, or I could do this better. When you choose not to do that, you're actually, or when you don't change the behavior, put it that way, or you don't change that certain thing, that you're actually choosing a certain thing. All right. That's the top of the discussion, man. So glad, so glad to be here, man. It's a beautiful thing, I say we made it. The beginning. Today's edition. You know, when you're when you're I want to say elevating, when you're elevating in your spiritual breathing, your movement, your mindset, you know, you take into account things that you would change, and it's healthy, starting with yourself, right? Since as far as I can remember, you know, personally, I always I always thought I could be doing better. Right now, even right, I always thought that I could be doing better. I could be doing more, right? And I believe that's the elephant in the room when it comes to anybody. I don't believe I'm unique in that sense, right? But to actually manage or mismanage time and efforts doing other things that's maybe not productive, all right? When was it that you realized that the things that you haven't changed, or the things that you refuse to change, for example, that financial situation or that relationship situation, that healthy that healthy living situation, that eating situation, that you're actually choosing the current situation. And your truth is your reality. It's no escaping it. I just was in talks about, how, what truth and reality is. Okay, someone's reality, or someone's truth of a said event may not actually align with the reality or your experience, because our reality is based off of our experience in memory of. Okay, if I say to you, I really enjoyed school, right? And that is my truth. So my reality and the way that I relate to doing work, doing research, doing homework, or maybe on the social part of it, intermingling and working in large groups, socially, just being around other people, doing everything as a group, right, might be different to someone that didn't enjoy school, right, and really didn't excel or do well with other people or working with people in large groups. Didn't really do well doing research and studying and things of that nature, right? And look actually for every reason to not go to school or to skip school or to go to sleep in class or things like that, right? They have two different truths, and that's two different realities. All right. On one hand, on one hand, the one that didn't have the best experience with school or didn't like school is usually triggered by something. I would think, right? It was triggered. Let's say if the person was bullied, if someone's bullied, they wouldn't, they would have to deal with the bully first to even get any enjoyment out of or whatever. So if you're afraid of confrontation and you don't want to really acknowledge the bully, it's like, sort of like, yeah, you're putting a band-aid on that situation, cutting class and not going to class or not going to school. All right, that didn't fix the problem. Okay, I'm just using that for example, right? And your current life or my current life, our current life in today 2027 with the information at our fingertips, chat GPT, the phones, the internet. Okay, it's so much information out here. It's almost like the Jetsons, right? There's no reason someone has to really ask anyone for really not. Let me bring that back. In the information age and the tech age, it's really not even a reason anyone has to ask anyone anything about anything, because literally you have the information at our fingertips on these things. If I wanted to learn about the stock market or if I wanted to learn about real estate, I can go on the thing on the internet and I can type search anything that I want to know more information about it and to dive and get a deep dive step by step on how to do it. So, and this is me sharing, it's like the only way being stagnant, right? You have moments, we have moments that we get overloaded, and appear to be, stagnant, right? And it just might just be stagnation, right? And that's part of the process, right? To remain there and not change the stagnation to get get the process started and rolling and moving, get in motion. That would be a choice. When you're down, you're not supposed to stay down, and that could be down in spirits. That could be down. That could be down financially. That could be down. To the magnitude of what you can do. Like if someone's sick and they're down, and then they can't do anything about it to a certain extent, right? But if without change, you're not going to get out of it without changing something, right? So when you refuse to change, you refuse to give up fast food, you refuse to go exercise, you refuse to stop buying sneakers, you refuse just to get off the social media for a spell and read a book. You refuse to get off the couch and go and do some work. Then you're actually choosing to be where you are in the stagnation state. You're actually choosing it. And again, I say this a lot. What you're good at, that doesn't mean that I have to be good at the same thing. I don't think that's real. Not when dealing with purpose. I seen a video brother Soul, shout out Soul. Soul was saying that one has to accept who they are, 100%. That in which you accept you for you, you know that's important. I felt that because flaws and all. If you don't love you, who you expect to love you? I mean, look at this cycle. How it's so easy to get caught up in the cycle of, really, it's called. I heard it put like, yeah, that's a form of self. I want to say self-sabotage, and I want to stay away from saying self-hate because that doesn't. You can call it self-hate too, but that doesn't ring self-hate to me. Self-sabotage, meaning you're doing something that is no. It's not going to do good for you. You're doing something that's not good for you. All right. So therefore, you may have an excuse why to do it. Oh, that's my friend. Or, I only do that when, I'm feeling like this. Or I don't do it every day. Or that's the way I unwind. And, I got kids with this person and, they help me out with that. That is almost an excuse to continue to do, I want to say, the bad thing or the wrong thing. And if you don't change that, it winds up being a choice that you're making. Now look at the power of a choice. Deciding on something, standing 10 toes on it, and be like, let whatever happens happen. Whatever's happens gotta happen. And that is the power of a choice. A choice changes everything. The universe changes and reflects the choices that's made. Check. The moment that you decide that you had enough, the moment that you said that you decided that you had enough, the whole universe changes. And I'm talking high level. This is high level manifestation, fruition talk. Okay? The minute you choose and you decide on something, the universe changes. Every corpuscle, everything down to everything changes. When you make a decision, that's how important choices are. Make good choices. Children, make good choices. They change everything. It's power in choices. So, in society, and nobody is exempt from it, even with the best example. Like, no one's perfect, right? But, not being able to make or arrive at a decision or make a choice is a detriment to anybody, especially in today's age, young or old, male or female. Because that's all you got. Like choices can be costly. That's how important and powerful they are. They're so important, to choose something. Now, if you choose not to change something, that's a decision. It's the power in a decision. It's the power in choice. Not to veer off, get too far out, right? I was talking to, who was I talking to? I was having a conversation and we were discussing I don't really get it. It wasn't religious based per se, right? It was a conversation that I had, and I could talk. I discuss religion. I just don't debate religion, if that makes sense, right? I can discuss politics. I just don't debate politics. I can discuss whatever, but I'm just not going to debate. I don't take the position in trying to convert anyone over or make them agree with what I'm saying. I listen to the point and I discuss. Have a discussion, right? But the topic of that discussion was freedom of choice and free will. It's more than semantics. I believe that those are two different things. And it was revolving, with the Christian ideology of, I guess, the Bible. And I can't quote it because it was a discussion. Whereas though the free will, like me saying I have free will, or you willed something to me, I would say that is me taking matters into my own hand, because I have the power to create. So me choosing to do something, right? Or having the choice to do something, or the option, doesn't mean that it's a choice to do what's right or do what's wrong. I don't think that you have a choice to do what's right or what's wrong. I believe that the only choice is to do what's right. To do what's wrong, if you choose wrong, that was your free will to do other than what you were supposed to do. And I'm trying to remember the conversation, and I hope I said that right. So, in other words, doing what's right. If I do anything other than what's right, it was my free will to do so. But that wasn't an option or a choice. That wasn't a choice to do what's wrong. I didn't have the freedom to choose whether to do right or what's wrong. But by free will, I chose not to do right. And with my will, it was, I done the wrong thing. And, so to speak. And when I say it to myself, it kind of sounds like, tomato. But, the intention behind it is the most, I want to say the most important part of that, right? With the intention, to do other than what was right was obviously wrong. Not saying you had the freedom to choose what was wrong, but you're so powerful in your decision making, or a decision is so powerful, or making a choice is so powerful by your will alone. You're able to not do the right thing, and it all comes back, full circle to, if you don't change something about your situation, whether it's doesn't matter, in order to progress or to elevate, right, in divine order, right, then you're actually choosing to stay the same. If you don't change your decision making for the better and to do what's right, then you're actually choosing to do what's wrong. Not that what's wrong was a choice, but by us having the will, and the will being the power to do things in your own, take matters in your own hands, because you're made in an image, or we're made in that image of, right? In the most highest, not staying on the height and going in the going planking in the lower self, right? And we will to do something other than what we're supposed to do on the height, and to keep it tall, and moral of the discussion today. You know what I mean? If you don't change, if you won't change, then you're actually choosing to stay the same. Hey man, I hope everybody have a truly wonderful, great everything, man. I'm Drew. Peace.